Step with me, if you will, into the twilight of a fallen cosmos. Today, we're putting on the rather solemn, maybe slightly weary, shoes of a theologian, and we're going to guide you through a deeply atmospheric, grim-dark, Gothic fable. Now, in this explainer, we're exploring a text that maps out, well, not a physical dungeon, but a psychological and philosophical descent. It's this incredible exploration of how meaning itself is dismantled through parables of absolute negation. So welcome to our explainer on the architecture of spiritual decay. Listen to this haunting thought straight from our text. The abyss is not a pit you fall into. It is a philosophy you accept. I love how this beautifully establishes that our descent today isn't physical at all. We aren't talking about stone dungeons or literal lakes of fire here. Instead, we're taking a harrowing journey into a nihilistic spiritual trap. It's a cage built entirely out of ideas, specifically designed to wear down the human spirit.
All right, let's jump into Section 1, Architects of the Abyss. So, who actually built this place? We're talking about das Dämonische. Now, what's really fascinating here is that these architects aren't your traditional pitchfork-carrying monsters. They are fallen seraphs, former stars who have completely traded away their own transcendence. And instead of trying to physically destroy us, their primary drive is the deliberate orchestration of humanity's spiritual fatigue. Basically, they just want to systematically wear down the human will. To really understand their strategy, take a look at how they operate compared to ancient myths. In the past, demons sought physical destruction, right? Tangible fire, physical rot, the literal cessation of bodily function. But these modern architects, they deal in spiritual fatigue. They induce this paralyzing realization of futility. They don't want to end your life. They want to remove the actual meaning from your life, leaving you with an aimless will and just this agonizing weight. They want you to survive, sure, but entirely without purpose. Moving on to Section 2, the Clockwork Vault, where they actually weaponize physics. So, according to the text, in the parable of the Clockwork Vault, these architects don't exactly arrive with thunder and lightning. Actually, drawing on Goethe's Faust, the source notes they show up in the subtle, almost poodle form of a mathematical proof. Within the vault of the great arithmetic, they show the soul this glowing formula, E equals mc squared. They literally weaponize the laws of physics themselves, basically arguing that reality is nothing more than a mathematical prison of physical constants. It's just a mere equation. And here is the trap. By weaponizing this math, they frame the universe as a closed system. They tell the soul that existence is just a finite mathematical loop. Think about it. If the universe is purely physical energy and matter looping forever, then there is absolutely no room for a divine judge to enter. There is no external redemption. They convince us that all prayer is simply lost to the void.
This brings us to Section 3, the Spirit of Gravity.
This is the core of the parable of the Sisyphus seraph. Here, the former star stands over a struggling human will and starts whispering this Nietzschean doctrine of eternal recurrence. And that is the heavy, entirely nihilistic belief that every single heroic act, every human effort, every struggle you endure, it's all nothing more than a cyclical repetition of vanity. The demons are whispering that your suffering is totally relentless, completely groundless, and ultimately leads nowhere but right back to the beginning. You can literally track this exact methodology of erosion. Step 1, they weaponize physics to close the universe off. Step 2, they instill this idea of eternal recurrence, so you feel trapped in a meaningless loop. And Step 3, they induce a paralyzing realization of futility, dropping the soul into perfect, apathetic despair. This is the deliberate spiritual erosion designed to make you feel like all effort is just futile. I mean, just look at this desperate whisper from the text. Trade the agonizing path of self-overcoming for a soft global asylum of perfect apathy. It's a negotiated fatigue. The demon offers a contract without ink. And honestly, think about how much this dark fable connects to our very real modern feelings of burnout. That seductive little whisper telling you to just stop trying, to just give up and accept a soft, apathetic existence because actually trying is just too painful. And this leads right into the parable of the weightless stone. A soul tries to flee the mere physical rot of the world, only to find itself crushed. The source material notes something that is just incredibly tragic. The infinite nature of the soul gets transformed into an agonizing weight. If you're trapped in a closed system without any transcendence, being an eternal spirit isn't a gift anymore, is it? It becomes a crushing burden of purposeless repetition. You're just stuck in what the text calls horizontal stasis, forced to wallow indefinitely.
Okay, section 4, the broken mirror cross. Now, before we go further into the center of the abyss, we gotta define the Nietzschean concept of the Übermensch, or the superior man. It represents humanity's ultimate aspiration to rise above and forge true meaning. But in the abyss, the architects mock this. They view any human attempt to rise above our groundless suffering as a doomed loop, basically an arrogant joke. And this is where they weaponize our greatest symbols of salvation in the parable of the broken mirror cross. The view of the faithful, right, sees the cross as the triumph of sacrificial love and the ultimate victory over death. But the architects, the demons acting as the spirit of gravity, they frame it as the ultimate absurdity. They point to the broken wooden frame and mock the figure upon it as a failed Übermensch who died for a lie, arguing that victory over death is just an illusion. They do this specifically to ensure the soul loses all hope and remains trapped in despair.
Finally, section 5, escaping the meaningless trap.
So is there a way out? Well, in the parable of the threshold abyss, the weary theologian preaches to those huddling in the gray twilight of the soul. Find weight in the vanity, to find the divine judge in the very heart of the closed system. This is huge. You don't escape this trap by magically fleeing the mathematical loop of reality. No, you escape by finding divine purpose directly within it. You defy the architects by asserting meaning right in the face of their cold equations. Here is the exact playbook to break that demonic contract and shatter the architecture of spiritual decay. First, recognize the trap is just a philosophy. It literally only holds power if you accept it. Second, actively reject that paralyzing realization of futility. Absolutely refuse to accept the apathy. And third, reclaim the infinite soul, not as a burden of repetition, but as a transcendent gift.
And that brings us to the end of our explainer today. We leave you with this lingering thought. The abyss is a philosophy of meaninglessness, deliberately designed to induce spiritual fatigue. Will you accept it? Or will you find weight in the vanity and forge your own meaning? Take a moment to deeply reflect on your own battles with burnout and spiritual fatigue. Until next time, keep questioning the architecture around you.